everyone, and this is our third investment meeting from our fire group, how Andrea named us. Yeah, financially free and retiring early, that's the goal, and really keeping us in the excitement of playing with our money and the excitement of learning more about money. And let's just take a moment to give praise where praise is due, and let's start with a prayer. So I hope everyone has their feet firmly on the ground, sitting up straight, and you are so upright that your crown is sitting on your head, that God can find you. So with a deep breath, we come before you, Lord, dear Heavenly Father. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you for everything that you have done for us. And we also thank you for everything that you are yet to do in our lives. And we thank you for a wonderful group and friendships, and that we learn together, and we are staying in the excitement of playing with money here on earth through this group, and through learning more about investments, and through profits that return to us, and multiplied investments. So we thank you for all of that. And we also know that you hear us before we ask, and we always come before you asking everything that is on our heart, because you put it there, because you know before we ask that it's already given. So thank you for multiplying our investments. Thank you for giving us more knowledge about investing. Thank you for wise decision making, that you tell us exactly when something is good to buy or sell, and all the nudges we get from you. So thank you for opening us up for those kind of nudges, and for those kind of more inspiration. And thank you for the abundance that comes from you through us into this world. So all money is from you, and we are your stewards here, your faithful stewards. And we want to be the one, the servant with the 10 talents that really gets everything multiplied and doing great. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all those inspirations and all those talents you're giving us. In your holy name, we pray. Amen. And today, Kent has the floor.
I'm in control here.
All yours.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to be talking a little bit about indexes, mutual funds, and ETFs. It's a very fundamental and simple concept, but it's a really valuable one for investing. So, what a fund is just it's a collection of certain stocks that you can buy a piece of. And that's going to be managed by some sort of entity or person. And those stocks are going to be kind of chosen for a common reason. The reason that these are so important and good is that you can participate in a portfolio that's managed by something or someone, and a diverse portfolio. And you could do that in a really simple way, just by purchasing one simple purchase, and you can participate in a diverse and managed portfolio. So it's definitely something that everyone needs to be invested in. So there's two basic types of funds. There's a mutual fund and an index fund. A mutual fund is basically managed by a professional. It's more based on human discretion, whether the decisions they want to make. And an index fund is based more on a mathematical model. Less human discretion. It is managed by people and organizations, but it's not so. There's not much human discretion when it comes to decisions. Excuse me. Big differences between the mutual fund and an index fund. Mutual funds are going to be more expensive. They both charge you to be part of them, but mutual funds can be a little more expensive, like 1% of your investment you pay, whereas an index fund is going to be way cheaper, like 0.05% of what you have invested. In terms of performance, a mutual fund is a little more volatile. A mutual fund has the possibility of outperforming the market, whereas an index fund doesn't actually have the possibility of outperforming the market, but that means it's more reliable and it doesn't have the possibility of underperforming the market. So that's why index funds are so popular, is that they just mimic the market, because they're based on a mathematical model, not based on any sort of opinion. So as I just said, index funds are a lot more popular than mutual funds, and unless you're interested in a specific mutual fund, in general, you should, if you just want to put your money somewhere, an index fund is a really good place to do it. And in general, that's where most people put their money, because, like I said, they just mimic the market. They don't go higher or lower. So yeah, that's pretty much what an index fund is. It's just a list of stocks based on some parameters, and it's no more, no less than that. So it's a very even keeled investment.
And do you have any suggestions, examples for funds?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of go over a little list here. The last thing about an index fund is the difference between an index fund and an ETF. That's a common term. They're basically the same thing. An index fund, the difference is that an index fund is you're buying, X percentage of a whole fund, and an ETF is that you're actually buying a little piece of the fund. It's not a super important distinction. Ultimately, they're the same thing. There's a couple differences, but they're not super relevant. The point is to not get hung up on ETF versus index fund. If it's an ETF, it's an index fund. It has the same result. So yeah, I mean, I guess if anyone has any questions on the definition of an index fund, I could answer those. But other than that, I was just going to kind of go over some of the common index funds, and then that was, what I had. So
I do have a question.
perfect.
What does ETF stand for?
It stands for Exchange Traded Fund. I could go over the two differences. So the first difference is that if you hold an ETF, if you hold a fund, you're part of the whole fund, and you can get taxed on other people's gains even if you don't sell anything. So if you hold a fund, you might be paying taxes even though you didn't actually sell anything. It's going to be an insignificant amount, but something to think about. And then the other difference is that an ETF you can buy and sell immediately throughout the day, and a fund, you can only buy and sell based on the price at the end of the day. So those are the two differences, between a fund and an ETF. So they're minor differences. An ETF was made to improve on a fund. So basically, if you have the option to do an ETF, it's a little bit better, but ultimately they're very similar. All right. So yeah, that was basically explaining what those things are. Yeah. So if anyone wants any clarification, I can answer that. But now I'm just going to kind of go through this list of common funds. All right. So the most common index fund is the S&P 500 ETF, and the ticker for that is SPY. They're called the spiders. It's the most common fund. It's the most popular fund on the market, and the S&P 500 is just the 500 biggest companies in the world, and the S&P 500 is a certain combination of the value of those companies. And like I said, it just mimics the market in that sense. So you can't go any higher, can't go any lower. It's a very reliable investment. So that's something you should definitely know about. SPY, super common. Vanguard has their version of that. It's called VOO. Pretty much the same thing. It goes from a 0.09% expense ratio to a 0.03% expense ratio. Not much different. I didn't say expense ratio is the amount of expense that you pay to be part of that fund. So that's what that term means. If you're looking at a fund, that's probably the most relevant number. Yeah, so those are the two most popular S&P 500 ETFs. There is so those are actually heavily weighted towards the top companies. There's a fund called the Investco Equal Weight S&P 500 ETF, which has it's equally weighted. Every company on that list is makes up the same percentage of the portfolio. That one is a ticker RSP. So those are the three I kind of put on there for the S&P 500. S&P 500, certainly the most common, the most popular index. That's something that pretty much everyone should consider having a little bit of S&P 500 because it just mimics the stock market. Very reliable investment. So for a couple more options, the QQQ is an index of the 100 largest non-financial companies in the world. This makes it's a little more volatile. So there are years where it has more losses, but over time it's made like 10% more money than the S&P 500. So QQQ is definitely something that you should consider getting. And I was researching it, and apparently they have a new fund by the same company that's called the QQQM, which I couldn't tell any difference other than that it's like newer and a little cheaper. So it seems like if you're interested in QQQ, just get QQQM. Like I said, it's the 100 largest non-financial companies in the world. Has a little more upside, a little more risky, but same idea. It's a very even-keeled investment. So that's the majority of indexes are going to be something like that, a reliable investment of a bunch of big companies, something that you can just kind of invest into, forget about it, and get reliable returns get returns that mimic the market. But there are indexes that are a little more specific. So, for example, the Russell 2000 is an index. The ticker on Vanguard is UTWV. It's 2,000 small companies. So that's something that you could invest in if you're interested. It's a lot more it's a lot less reliable than the ones that the indexes like the S&P and the QQQ. But it can be interesting to go into something like that. And another index that's another example of a cool index is it's called BOTZ. It's an index of robotics and artificial intelligence. And that's just an example of what an index can be. It doesn't have to be a super broad, super reliable investment. An index can be pretty much anything. It's just a valuable tool to diversify your portfolio. So yeah, those were all the examples I had. So yeah. Anyone has any questions?
Just to give you like other options, and I might have mentioned before, but there's something called a life cycle fund.
Okay.
So these are like products that are put together that mature, or like they are like put together for the risk factors according to your age. And these are made for especially like for your retirement products, like if you have a Roth IRA. So one of those things you might wish to consider when you invest in your Roth is to get a life cycle fund, and they have different options depending on your birth date. So basically, what you look up is the age you are going to retire, and it really gives you, when you go onto these trading platforms, the options of, okay, if you're born between this year and this year, then you might want to consider this kind of fund. And it's especially tailored for the year when you retire. So it is a high risk fund kind of put together for when you're younger. And then the older you get, it swaps more into, it even has like bond parts in it. And so different kind of a combination of things. So it's more, higher risk stocks the younger you are, and then like companies that are more reliable the older you get. So there's even like life cycle funds that, for example, for next year or for like in 5 years when you retire, and it goes by 5 years. So you take the one that is closest to your age, and this way. So in the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, it's one of those things that he said, like, it's not an ideal product to make a lot of money, but it's like one of those, if you have zero idea what to do, it's like your 80% solution where you can only do good with. It's better than having nothing. So, so you really go into something that someone else manages for you, and then you have the goodness. And I bought some with my Roth, and I already got like a really good return on those. So I actually suggest to have that in the portfolio, because I also bought the VOO for that, and I bought the VGT that we talked about, and actually that life cycle fund outperformed all of them so far. And I bought them.
Do you know what that's called?
So like Donovan says, like, some say it's target retirement funds.
So which one you bought?
I bought the one that comes to fruition in 45, because I have 20 more years to work. So
how did you find that? Like, how did, like, if we wanted to?
That's for my age group. So what I did is like I looked for life cycle funds on Vanguard, and it gave me, let's see, maybe I can find the ticker for it. But it really, I did the one that is mature when I turn 65. So
Okay.
so I did it was called the Life Cycle Fund 45, 2045 for the kind of date that I am going to retire. That I will give you the ticker for it in a moment.
I see.
Um,
Looks like you can just search. Yeah, Donovan said.
Mine is called VTIVX. Vanguard Target Retirement 2045 Fund. And it's not as high as it used to be right now. But it has a good, better return than the other that I had. Like with the VGT and VO, that also the good, but the VTIVX. And then I see like how it's put to, I don't really see how it's put together, but I see I'm invested 9.1% in bonds. So since I don't buy any bonds, it must come from that fund.
Yeah, that's exactly what an index does. You don't have to do anything, but you get some diverse investments. Yeah, okay.
So that's especially for retirement products. I mean, if you have, we always said in the beginning, let's have different investment accounts, like one for your retirement that make something that is stable, do something, and then we have also our play investment money here, where we just want to see how it does, do more risky things. So this is kind of a product more for your retirement, that the one where you don't want to play too much with your money.
Cool. Yeah, I searched for target retirement funds on Vanguard, and it's listing like
for every
list, and it says target retirement 2070 all the way down to already retired. So yeah, it's a cool idea.
Yeah, that's 50 years. So there are people who retire in 50 years.
Yeah. Not relevant here, but cool. Anyone else have any indexes that they
share with us what you already invested in ETF wise, or what does good for you?
Yeah, I guess I could share. I invested in QQQ a while ago. I mean, when I was much younger. That one has grown a lot. It's like, $1,000 turned into $10,000 type of thing. So I definitely have SPY. Yeah, I think I pretty much have SPY and QQQ. It's like the main. That's pretty much most of my. That's more than half of what I have. So yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else has some notes on ETFs, funds? What are you invested in?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a great thing to dollar cost average into. Like I said, it's like, because based on what it is, it just mimics the market. It doesn't go higher or much lower. So if you're looking for something to dollar cost average into, some of these indexes, QQQM, SPY, good options.
I also remember, like, when I started with my investment portfolio, like a few years back, my bank told me, get like 3 different funds, they said, like one like a large cap, one was like international, and one was small caps, I think. So just to spread out the investment a little bit, so to have like 3 different ones. And it's interesting how I put like the same amount into everything. And one thing we might have to mention is with some of them there is a minimum buy-in. Like for some of those it's $1,000, I think, but then you can get certain shares. And what I did back then, I only had like so little on the side, so I did like maybe $40, like just the minimum share I buy. and
Yeah.
and really, but it got me a good start, and I didn't think about it much. I just had it on automatic. So every month this money went in, and then it was a good, when I thought about it again and I looked, I was like, wow, I have an investment account that's actually money on there. Even with this small automation. So I just want to remind everyone that like automation, so really putting something in every single month, like that you agree with yourself on, it goes a long, long way, because like sometimes, like gets in the green, and like what Ken just said, if you bought for $1,000 now it's worth 10,000. Hey, this
Yeah,
is like,
that was just a fund. Didn't pick any stocks.
so it's a great thing to have other things on your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's kind of the main point of a fund, is that, an average investor, there's full-time people managing the funds, but you get to just kind of buy a piece without doing much. So yeah. Yeah, what she said, she mentioned global. There are definitely good funds for global markets, emerging markets. So if you're interested in that, there are definitely good funds
As
for
you said,
that,
like,
for
it's
those
really about
markets.
you diversify in the fund, that you have,
Mhm.
instead of picking one company and you go and fall with this one company, you have it, you have all the profits, like even within the fund, it's kind of already like evened out. So
Yeah. Yeah,
great
it's like if you're
financial.
interested in a certain investment, you can go buy a fund, and that now becomes a pretty reliable investment, instead of like, I want to go invest in AI. If you just did that with individual companies, that's really risky. But if you go and do an AI fund, you can be part of AI and actually have a, diverse, reliable investment. So
And that's a good point. So go with what you're interested in. There's energy
yeah,
funds, and there is
yeah,
fast food funds probably, or
yeah.
like, or we have this
Funds for a lot of
the
stuff.
consumer funds. So whatever you're interested in, and as Ken said, like even if it's like robotics and something emerging, hey, that might be
Hmm.
like a really interesting way to watch the market.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments or?
I do have a question.
I have one
Kent,
too when you're finished. So let me know.
Perfect.
Kent, I know you mentioned mutual funds. Is that something you should recommend looking into?
Um, so mutual funds are like, I don't know, my opinion on it is, it's like, if you're interested in the manager of the fund, and you want to be part of their fund, then it could be interesting. But a mutual fund has higher expenses, and they have the potential of underperforming the market. So, the best of the best stock managers struggle to outperform the market. So, um, you know, unless you're specifically interested in whoever's managing this mutual fund, it does, in my eyes, it doesn't make a ton of sense to go with mutual funds. So, um, mutual funds they're kind of, index funds were invented to replace a mutual fund, kind of. So, mutual funds have higher expenses. They can underperform the market, and a lot of times they have a large minimum investment. So I think there are situations where they don't make as much sense, but they can be a little more exciting. They can outperform the market potentially. So yeah. All right.
Karen, you had a question.
Yes. You had expressed when you first invested in QQQ, and I think
Mm-hmm.
you said SPY.
Mm-hmm.
You did it quite a few years ago, and your account had grown. How
Yeah.
many years? 5, 10, 15?
Let's see. It'd be 10 to 15. See if I can see anything. Um, I don't know if it says exactly when, but yeah,
Yes, that
probably
is.
about, let's see, what am I, 27 right now? Yeah, probably 13 years ago or something like that.
All right, thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, does anyone want to share what they did since our last meeting? Is there any cool thing you invested in? Did you do any of the things we talked about? Or what is your next step? And
I will share. I had a really hard time with BB&T, which is now Truist, getting them. It would not let me online through to transfer money. So I went to BB&T. I went to Truist and talked with them, and they said, "Oh, it's no problem. It won't be a problem." So they didn't help me at all. So I had to open up another account at my other bank. And I was sharing with her that I had tried to fund my account and I was not able to do it online through Truist. And the lady mentioned to me that her and her husband had a Charles Schwab account and that they had had a horrible time when BB&T merged with Truist. And so I decided I would not go that direction. I would fund it through my Dogwood bank because there was apparently a problem that even BB&T was unaware of, Truist was unaware of. So that took me, because I'm busy and I can't always get to the bank. That took me, and then was gone for Christmas. That took me, probably 3 weeks to accomplish. But I thought somebody else, that might be helpful for someone else who has a Truist account. In fact, they said that when they had went with Truist, it had really messed up their Schwab account. They didn't get into details as to why, but that might be some good information with someone, is to stick to a more local bank where you're going to get some answers and help.
definitely, yeah.
And as far as anything we've invested in, pretty much right now, because I've been I only attended the first meeting and then they went to 5:30, not 6:30. So this is my second meeting. I haven't invested in anything yet except crypto. And because we have a son that works for Bitcoin and he has spent a lot of money with getting a Weiss subscription, which cost him about $3,000. We have been putting money regularly in different types of cryptocurrency, which he is helping us manage.
Okay.
So maybe one day, we can bring him on to share about that. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm looking
that'd be
forward to
interesting.
looking into some of these accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk about methods like that we can invest in, like gold and silver, and
Yeah.
it's for that.
Yeah. And so you're saying you're having trouble transferring money. It can be a little annoying for me. I kind of, because if you, at least for Vanguard, you can just kind of hold money in it's called the Vanguard money market account or something like that, and that's kind of just like cash. So any extra money I have, I just transfer it right away. Because if you have it in the Vanguard money market account, which is just a cash account, you could just kind of use it immediately. Because yeah, I mean, I've had it where like I want to make a trade, and then I have to transfer money from my bank, and it's like, you know, takes a day or a week or something like that. And now I can't do the trade I wanted to do. So yeah, I would recommend it. Just try to keep a little bit just in your investment account ready to go.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Haven't got that far yet, but thank you.
Yeah,
I imagine Charles Schwab has the same type of thing.
yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. Usually every
Yeah.
investment account, before you invest it, it is invested in the money market. So you just want to see like oh, what is your percentage? And I know like Fidelity was for the longest at 4.25%, and the
Yeah.
Vanguard is around 5%, I think. So
Yeah, so it's a
better than that.
better way
So,
to store a bunch of money than a savings account too.
yeah, it's definitely better than having it on the checking if you don't
Yeah.
need it for the bills, for the everyday
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
But
exactly.
is it guaranteed or not?
It's guaranteed, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. So
So you
yeah,
have
it's
I don't
to
think,
see on your investment account what the percentage is, and I think they do change it periodically. The interest you receive, but for that time it is guaranteed. So you always, I know for both of my investment accounts, I have by the end of the month, so always at the last day of the month, I get my interest on the account, and then it's like basically reinvested in the money market, and it's one of those things where you accumulate your interest.
I'm talking about the
Yeah.
FDIC. Is it backed by the government?
So yes, Vanguard just came out with a fund that is insured by the FDIC, and you have
Okay.
to actually go into it. That is a great place to put like your emergency fund, because all of us should be planning on putting in, you know, our whether we want $1,000, a $5,000, whatever it is, our emergency fund we're trying to get up to. We talked about that a couple meetings back. But in an investment like a money market, you know, kind of fund, there are two different kinds. So there's just your standard one, like Vanguard we're talking about, has where it's going into that money market account, and it's held there until you decide whether it automatically goes into which, you know, which funds, or you decide which funds you want it to go into and how much of that you want it to go in. But they just came out with a new one that is FDIC insured, and it has a specific interest rate. So it would be just like your savings account at a bank, but at a much higher interest rate. I believe the Vanguard one right now is guaranteeing 3.5% interest if you go and you put your money into that. But it is a separate like sign up account, so it's got a separate account number than what the regular money market account is that it would automatically have you know, put the money into and waiting for you to invest in. So two things: make sure that you're, if you have things automatically going into the money market, that you then make sure you're taking out and investing that money if it doesn't automatically. And then the other is to see which type of account you want. Do you want the FDIC insured one, which has a fixed interest rate, or do you want the money market one, which has a flexible interest rate? So it could be each month or each quarter that it changes the interest rate on you. But they're all around somewhere between 3 and 5%.
Okay. Great point. She is correct about that. The normal money market is not FDIC insured, at least for Vanguard.
So yeah, also a good point and a good reminder. Make sure that you can access all your investment accounts, that you might have like the apps on your phone, you have your logins ready, and that you know the way how to get funds on them, and how to get the funds off, and how to buy and how to sell. So these are the first things we have to look before we even invest, Karen, as you said. We have to make sure that we are familiar with these kind of things, that it becomes second nature for us to play with these kind of things, because like as Ken also said, it's you want to do an investment, you have like a really hot tip, and then you're like, oh wow, I require the funds on the account, and it takes 2-3 days to get it there, or it depends on. So in the beginning, when I opened my Vanguard new, I wanted to do the trade, and they, even if the money was on the account, they blocked me for a whole week of doing things.
Yeah.
Because there was a new account. So now it's easier. It's just I had to know these kind of things. So
yeah, I just do a couple small trades, because it's really nice to know you know where to click and you have the stuff ready to go to just do something if you want to. I like having that option.
Mm.
I will say, definitely need to take the automation seriously. I thought I was just going to be able to like be a PTO or whatever that we've been investing in. I thought I was just going to be able to do that manually, and I forgot to do it last month. So, you're not going to remember if it's not automated.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Automation is like half of it already. Like the dollar cost
Yeah,
averaging in, it's huge. If you do that
yeah,
for more than a year, you really see results.
yeah.
Yeah. So what other things? So you can still do your retirement things. We talked about Roth IRA. So until April 15th, you can still do it for 2023, 6,500 for most of us, depends on your age. This year, they raised it to 7,000. You can invest on your 7,000. So, however, if you still have to fund your 6,500 from last year, you're still able to do that until April 15th. And this is also what I like really about Vanguard and why I tried out different investment accounts. So I was with Fidelity for the longest, and I like about Vanguard the way they display things for me that I can just see on one look. So I'm like really, I can be so proud of myself. Oh, I have 71% invested from the 6,500, and so it's showing a graph like a gauge, like a full tank. So, and then you can see where you're at with that throughout the year with your investment, or and they give you like the first number I see with Vanguard is like my return, like the money, my money made. So to give me the excitement about it. And Fidelity is a little bit more different to read, so it doesn't give me these visual excitement feedback that I'm getting from Vanguard. So I'm wondering at some point if you have like experience with Charles Schwab. I know like some of you in there, like maybe we can share some screenshots about, okay, how do they display it? How can we read it? How can we be more familiar? Because it takes a moment to learn to read your investment returns and to read like, oh, how much money do I have? Where's my money market? Why does it show me in the money market like a number, but then nothing else? So things like that. So really get familiar with the investment account that you have, and log in, log out as many times that you are like really, really excited about it, in a way that, oh yeah, I know my password, I know my login, I know how easy it is, I know it's on my phone or on my laptop, whatever choice you make, to really make it exciting. Because I know like sometimes in the beginning, even with the automation, it was so automated because I had like such a resistance to just logging into the account, but probably because I didn't have the password or something like that. So I know it was automatically going and I didn't know what was happening. So it's way more exciting to know how to log in and how to read everything that I'm seeing. Because now it gets to a point where I feel like, oh, I kind of know what I'm doing, like the way of, yeah, I know exactly if we tell each other here, oh, let's buy a new, and it did come up since we said that. So I want to know, did you invest a little bit in it, Kent? Did you buy a new?
Yeah. I did buy.
So let's see over the time in the year what it does.
Yeah.
It's one of those exciting things to look at, and already got some return on it. So
yeah, I think that's a really good point. Just like if I haven't logged into my Vanguard account, it kind of gets like intimidating to log in if I don't remember. Might need to reset my password or something like that. So I find that if I just kind of log in every once in a while, it makes the whole thing more fun and less intimidating.
So for me, it's like I set it up on my phone now. That so basically, before I go to sleep, I check my investment accounts, and it's so much fun. It's like in the old times, I was playing like a little game on my phone, and now I'm checking my wine app to see if like something has to be categorized and my budget, and this is like, it's the best thing before going to sleep. Interesting than any book or movie. I just watching my investment account. So my wine app, the budget app we talked about, and my 2 investment accounts are the last 3 things I always click on. And it's so
It's really good.
yeah. So, and since it's daily, I really have a close record of what's happening and what the market is doing. Because once you watch your own stocks, what is it doing? It goes up and down, and how are the numbers changing? You follow the market automatically.
Yeah.
So it gets so familiar. A thing that is so intimidating first, like a whole big, huge topic, gets really familiar.
Great point.
Okay, anyone else wants to share? Okay, so how about we close in prayer? And Andrea, do you want to close us in prayer?
Sure, I would be happy to, as we celebrate this new year and are just so excited about how our investments are going to multiply and how we are going to just live life to our fullest this year. 2024 is going to be an awesome year. And Lord, we just thank you so much for bringing us all together and to helping us in each of our individual situations, wherever we may be, that we just come together and we are able to know that with your help, with your guidance, Lord, that we can do anything, including retire when we want to retire, that we can grow our minions and our wealth in the ways that more than what we've ever imagined, Lord. And we just thank you so much for the guidance, for the all the wonderful minds that we've brought together and that will continue to come to us over this coming year, so that we can learn all about this, that we can just be confident in knowing that investing doesn't have to be a scary thing. It doesn't have to be an uncertain thing, but it can be fun and it can be very rewarding. And we know, Lord, that you are in control of it and you want to bless us tenfold. And we are just so excited that this year we get to do this with you and together. We know that we are just going to be millionaires in our hearts and our minds and on paper. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So make sure by the next meeting that everyone playing here has some sort of fun.
Yes.
And I know we already did, because we started the whole meetings out with the VGT from Jillian, and so I think everyone has that by now. So we are good. Just play a little bit more, choose a fund, and then just watch it grow. Let's see. Is there any other? Yeah. So Malia said our next meeting is February 6th, also 6 p.m. So thank you for playing with us, everyone. Thank you for staying excited about money and all the abundance. So I really see you on do something. Just play. Just play. And have something automated.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, Kat, so much.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. Bye everyone.